What I remember about the rise of the Empire is how quiet it was. During the waning hours of the Clone Wars, the 501st Legion was discreetly transferred back to Coruscant. It was a silent trip. We all knew what was about to happen, what we were about to do. Did we have any doubts? Any private traitorous thoughts? Perhaps, but no one said a word. Not on the flight to Coruscant, not when Order 66 came down, and not when we marched into the Jedi Temple. Not a word.
Coming to you once again from those smooth, white, snowy dunes of Hoth, this is Echo Base Radio. I'm Green Leader 88. This is my cohort.
Blue Leader 99, and you mean smooth like jizz, right?
Ooh, smooth like jizz.
Only available at the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Get it while supplies last.
Oh yeah. Well, we are finally back after months. We apologize. But we are here to finally complete that long-awaited circle with part 3 of
Circle
episode
is
3.
now complete.
Yes. So when we last left off, we were coming down after the rise of Darth Vader. Anakin has been christened once again. Well, not once again, but he has been christened officially as Darth Vader by Sidious, who has fully revealed himself, and he's marching into the temple, and now things are about to go down because Palpatine is about to declare Order 66, which is a directive for all of the clones to turn on their Jedi leaders. And when I first saw this in the theaters in 2005, I was not expecting this scene. I was not expecting something this big right out of the gate. Well, it didn't happen at the start of the movie, but I was not expecting something like this. And, you know, looking back on it in retrospect, yes, I should have known that, yes, the Jedi were going to fall, and yes, the Jedi were going to be driven to all but extinction, as Obi-Wan had talked about in the original movie, but this was something that I had forgotten about because, you know, even though they aren't as prevalent characters, if you had watched, you know, the original Clone Wars micro-series or played video games, you kind of got to grow a little bit more with these Jedi characters. Yeah, so, you know, I had gotten used to characters like Mace Windu, and I was just like, oh, now they're dying.
Well, I think, especially with this whole movie, it really set a more mature tone as far as Star Wars is concerned. Mm-hmm. Especially with, you know, opening up with the beheading of Count Dooku. For Star Wars, that was messed up. That was hardcore. And then to see all of these, like you said, all these characters that, you know, we have seen throughout, that we have followed throughout all these movies, whether how big or small their parts are, just surprisingly and brutally executed all in a sequence like that. Like, that's brutal when you're sitting there watching that for the first time.
Oh yeah, and you know, you don't expect it, and you're seeing it over these shots of like, you know, war, and it's just like, oh, there's like, you know, these battles going on, but then they just, like, you know, just take a quick break to kill their leader.
And then to drive the point even further into your heart, it skips to the scenes of Yoda where he's sensing everything. And he's about to have a heart attack.
Oh yeah,
because he can sense what's going on. It's like, man, why do you do this to me?
And then like, you know, fortunately, he's you know, in this movie at least, he's only one of two who gets wind of what's going on and beheads 2 clone troopers who are trying to, you know, put a gun to his head. And I do want to go ahead and say this, you know, to piggyback off your point. This is the most violent Star Wars movie that's ever been existed. That's
even
ever
down
been.
To the lightsaber choreography. It's more intense, more fast paced.
We have people getting burned, blown up, beheaded, having their hands cut off.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a brutal movie. Yeah. George did not spare no expense. This was also the very first PG-13 Star Wars. I don't know if we touched on that in any of the previous episodes, but this was the first one to up the ante in terms of what we were able to, do in terms of violence. But
well, I think considering what this movie is leading up to, it kind of it wouldn't be right if it didn't follow that path.
Yeah.
Like, it had to be that brutal to show just how far the Jedi will fall. And how important the movies later on are going forward.
Mm-hmm. And, Anakin takes the easy route out to go and kill the defenseless children while all of the clones take on the adult Jedi.
Well, you gotta start somewhere, right?
I guess. I mean,
work your way up to the proverbial ladder.
I guess. I mean, didn't start off like that in the video game, but still. So while all of this is going on, I did want to touch on this because this was really cool. In the original Battlefront 2, we had a 501st clone trooper who was doing journal entries, and we had these journal entries for two of the characters that we see get gunned down by clones. And it really would have been cool if we had seen clone trooper character development, because I think it would have, made this scene even more impactful. But the first one was for Ki-Adi-Mundi when they were on Megiddo. And it was this. In the waning months of the Clone Wars, the 501st faced missions critical to the agenda of Chancellor Palpatine. When we arrived at the bombed-out ruins of Megiddo, our Jedi commander believed we had been sent to take out a droid energy collector. What Ki-Adi-Mundi didn't know, however, was that our unit was really after an experimental Megiddan power force that the Chancellor wanted for his super laser. Keeping Mundi in the dark wasn't easy. The Jedi had become increasingly wary of the Chancellor's doings and were on the lookout for the slightest hint of treachery. Just like the rest of them, though, he never caught whiff of what was really going on until it was far too late. And then he followed it up with, the success of the mission on Megiddo was something of a revelation for the men of the 501st. Suddenly we realized that the Jedi could be fooled, and if they could be fooled, they could be killed. And Ki-Adi-Mundi really has that look of surprise on his face. He's really the only one who sees wait, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I think his is the one that really hurt the most because, like you said, he looks back to try, hey, come on, let's rally the troops. Yeah, and then he looks back and he's got hundreds of guns pointed at his face.
Yeah, and he just doesn't stand a chance. After just literally seconds before, he raised up his lightsaber and was like, "Come on!"
Yeah, it just turned like that.
And they were following him, and then that switch flipped. And then the first, and then the next one, the last one I'll read was the one for Felucia for Aayla Secura, the one who was the only one, the one on the ground who saw but was also kind of taken by surprise.
Yeah.
It's been said that the 501st got the best of the war. We also got the worst. On Felucia, the Seps, meaning the Separatists, dug their metal heels into the muck of that alien hellhole and dared the Republic to come in after them. So we did, only to be met with month after month of flesh-eating diseases, shrieking nocturnal predators, and other sights that haunt me to this day. Cut off and for all we knew, abandoned by our superiors, our only hope was Aayla Secura, our Jedi commander. Without her iron will, none of us would have come out of that mess with our sanity or our lives. When her death came, I hope it was quick. She earned that much. And then he followed it up at the end with, when the 501st was finally rotated out of Felucia, Aayla Secura made a point of seeing us off personally, calling us the bravest soldiers she had ever seen. It's a good thing we were wearing helmets, because none of us could bear to look her in the eye.
Well, that just goes to show you that, they knew, they weren't just just some programming that happened. Like, they were fully aware of what they were doing, fully aware of their relationships with these people.
Didn't that get kind of retconned though? Like, didn't it get later established in the Clone Wars that it was like a chip or something? That there was an inhibitor chip in their brain?
I don't remember.
Oh. Okay. Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Well, yeah, and, when I first saw this, I thought that I had heard a hint of sadness in Commander Cody's voice when he said, "Yes, my lord," but then watching it now, it's like, there's no hesitation. He's just like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll do it," and then blast him. Kill him.
Good soldiers follow orders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But at the Jedi Temple, while all of this is going on, it's in flames, literally, and there's only one person to go and check on it, and it's Bail Organa. Out of all the people, he's the only one who's like, maybe we should go check on this. I mean, none of those fire trucks from the beginning of the movie are coming to put it out. So he's just like, what's going on here, guys?
Well, maybe Palpatine made it to where nobody could. Like, nobody was able to get in.
Well, I mean, he was able to land that speeder pretty easily on there.
True.
And he was able to see George Lucas's kid get killed, unfortunately.
It's time for you to go.
Yeah, and so it is.
And
then they don't even shoot him because that would have caused even more of a political crisis.
Yep.
Would have caused even more conspiracy theory. Ugh. And when we next cut back to him trying to find more Jedi, we're back to a familiar sight from the original trilogy. He's in his ship. He's in the Rebel blockade runner, the Tantive 4 from the original trilogy. This was one of the few practical sets that they used for this movie that was like reconstructed from the original.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like that hallway that you see from the original, the one that the rebels are shooting the stormtroopers in, that Vader comes down, like that is a completely physical set that I think was probably reconstructed from blueprints that they had from the original film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was rebuilt from the ground up. And I still think that, that's impressive for a movie that has a lot of CGI, but in years recently, we've discovered that these movies had less CG than the sequel trilogy had, which, shows how Lucas was still, using things like practical effects and, scale models and puppets and
he was
costume
a big
characters.
For if you could do it practically, that's the way to go.
Oh yeah. I mean, he would even make all of those like, clay models, and he would have, the art department make concept drawings. And I remember even back in episode 1, remember when he drove Spielberg out to the parking lot and showed him that thing of the battle droid, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is the new stormtrooper. Like, the Jedi can cut him down like butter." Remember that? Yeah. That was great. He picks up Obi-Wan and Yoda. Bail does. I liked that Obi-Wan was able to escape in Grievous's ship.
Yeah.
And Grievous's decaying body is there. Anything that you like about these scenes?
I mean, we pretty much covered everything right here. But yeah, just one of the most iconic moments for me is just that march up to the Jedi Temple with Anakin and the 501st behind him. Oh yeah. And then when the music hits, it's the beats to the music line up perfectly with the steps of their march.
Oh yeah, Williams was just on his game for this entire trilogy.
And Williams is always on his game.
He's always on his game. I don't think I've ever heard a bad score from him. Yeah.
No.
And I mean, I don't think there's another film. Well, he's probably up there with Hans Zimmer, and I don't think those two guys have more iconic resumes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how can you go, like, toe to toe when one guy has Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Jaws, and yet the other guy has like Pirates, Lion King, Inception,
Interstellar,
The Dark Knight.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, just two of the greats. Yeah. So, yeah, but one thing that was kind of weird was how Obi-Wan escaped very easily. Like, there was no like, planetary blockade of any ships to, like, shoot him down or anything.
Yeah.
He just got out pretty quickly.
Bye, I'm out.
Yeah. Unless they were all concentrated on the other side of the planet. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, that whole dock that Grievous was at seemed to be pretty secretive. I mean, like, they did have a whole chase to get there when they were fighting.
Yeah.
And like, just think, Obi-Wan had to run all the way there because remember, unfortunately, his lizard died.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, lizard.
Pieces.
Ugh. Oh, now when Anakin goes to see Padme after his little thing at the Jedi Temple, and he says that he's going to go kill, like, the Separatist leaders. There's one thing that I noticed in here that was really cool this time. His facial expressions and the way that he delivers some of his lines, both here and on Mustafar, really makes him come across like kind of like, a horror movie villain, whether it be in like a slasher or like an old school horror film, like, one of those people who's just like, really cunning and really devious and, really just, good at wearing a mask to try to gain the victim's trust.
Yeah.
Because, Padme doesn't know yet that he's turned. And he says a line here before he leaves where he says, "Please wait for me." And, I wrote that line down particularly, and I'm wondering this from you. Do you think he said that line out of shame or out of concern for her safety? Like, do you think he wanted her to stay because he didn't want her to know what he was doing because he was ashamed of what he was going to do? Or he didn't want her to be in jeopardy of possibly dying because he's like, I still don't know Plagueis' secret, so she needs to stay where I at least know she's safe.
It was probably a bit of both, but I think it's probably more along the fact that he was ashamed. I mean, he had just murdered children.
Yes.
And I'm like, and one of the things for me is like the change. I think the change did happen kind of quickly.
Yeah.
But, he was pretty much a fresh Sith Lord. He had just murdered a whole classroom of younglings. Like,
yeah.
The stuff that was going on in this guy's head, like, yeah, he probably did have shame, and he probably couldn't look Padme in the eye, honestly.
Yeah.
So you're like, you know what? What I'm about to do, you're not going to like, so just stay here.
Yeah.
Be safe, and I will be back for you.
Yeah. And I just want to give an example of, like, one of his, like, horror film villain lines, when she's like, Anakin, I'm afraid. And he kind of like, just like, puts on the charm and he's like, have faith, my love. Everything's going to be all right. Yeah. And he like, brings that back again to Mustafar where he's like, we don't have to run away anymore. I can overthrow the Chancellor if I want to.
You can definitely hear the confidence boost in his voice after he had turned.
Oh yeah.
Like he's like, okay, I'm Sith Lord now. Shit. Like there's nothing that can
I am
stop
free
me.
from the restraints of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to listen to them or feel guilty by them anymore.
I am more powerful than all of them. I'm gonna save my wife. Life is good.
They don't have to call me Annie anymore.
Little Annie.
So he goes off to our new planet, Mustafar. Lucas's like ultimate visual shorthand here when it comes to planets because it's like literally hell.
Yeah.
I mean it looks cool.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Battle backdrop.
I mean, like I would never want to live there, but at least there's people there who's working. to get their natural resources.
I would hope that planet is not habitable. Like, that's just a planet that's pretty much like a workforce. Like,
I
when
hope
you're
so
mining
too.
for resources or
Yeah.
something like that. Like,
I hope you don't
that
live
planet
there.
cannot sustain life.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Vader went to live there in Rogue One.
He did build a castle there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's that.
Which was an idea from an early draft of the Empire script.
Yep, that was one of the original drawings. Was it Ralph McQuarrie?
Yeah,
that did the original drawings?
Yeah, he did all the concept art.
Yep.
And I still haven't seen it. You have, unfortunately.
Ahsoka?
No, wasn't that red forest that they visited at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker, wasn't that a section of Mustafar?
From what I've read, that is supposed to be Mustafar.
That's stupid. No, that whole planet's just lava and volcanoes and a base.
Why is there trees?
Why are there trees? Why are there people fighting
Where
there?
did this forest come from?
Seriously, why is there a Sith Wayfinder?
Just after Vader vacated the premises, everybody was like, "Well, I guess we can try to make this planet habitable now."
I guess there was a big, power vacuum there that needed to be filled. I don't know. And Palpatine decided to put something there for, connect the dots to find him because he was bored. I don't know. But one thing that was cool about Mustafar was that in the footage of Mustafar, I don't know which footage specifically, I have a pretty good idea, but when they were in Italy shooting, there was a mountain there called Mount Etna that actually erupted, and they were able to get footage of that and put it into the movie along with all of the other CG animatics on Mustafar.
I think I know which scene you're talking about.
The scene of everything just bursting up.
Where it's just the shot of the planet and this huge volcano just erupting, and then it cuts back to them fighting.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's actually real. That's awesome.
That was just incredibly powerful. And I have to go back to my phone again because
the Star Wars crew has the best luck with locations and natural disasters.
Oh yeah.
Then they have sandstorms on Tunisia where they were able to film some.
It messed up the crew every day. Yeah, during the first movie, yeah, they had sandstorms and everything.
I suffer from my art.
And in Raiders of the Lost Ark, everyone kept throwing up because of food poisoning. Mm-hmm. That's why Harrison Ford improvised him shooting the swordsman because he was sick and he had the runs that day, and he just didn't feel like going through the choreography, so he just shot him. But another thing that I wanted to point out about Mustafar, are you familiar with the Professor Camille Paglia?
No.
Okay, well anyway, a few years ago, she wrote a book called Glittering Images, A Journey Through Art from Egypt to Star Wars. And she has been quoted as saying, quote, "I'm serious. Nothing in the last 30 years in any of the arts has been produced as emotionally compelling and significant as the finale of Revenge of the Sith."
Wow.
This is a professor praising Lucas for his visual shorthand for having a duel in hell. And that's brilliant. Well, she recognized it before any of the masses did.
Well, if you think about it, the symmetry lines up. I mean, on Mustafar, Anakin and Obi-Wan are at their lowest points in their life. They are literally in hell, in their mind.
And it's good versus evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see what you did there, George.
Yeah. And it's also cool how the only bright things during that entire battle are their lightsabers. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can see the force fields that are protecting the workers on their platforms and those little droids with the buckets, but the two lightsabers are the two most consistent things that are the two spots of brightness amidst this landscape of just dark red and orange and just beautiful, George.
Georgie!
George, you broke us! We can't be more praiseworthy about Mustafar. You made a lava planet, and it's great. But while we're still on Mustafar, this is where Anakin goes to kill the Separatist leaders, and we get that we get a little cameo from the mouse droids.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get that, and then he lowers the doors and kills them all. Yeah, he just slaughters them wholesale.
Yeah, they're all like, hey boss, how's it going? No, here's the reports for the.
Yeah.
What did we do?
Welcome, Lord Vader. We have been expecting you. Yeah, and one thing about that shot, about that scene, I know that everyone loves the scene where he turns and he has the yellow eyes. Mm-hmm. That is such a trailer shot, and it just feels like such a trailer shot that just does not feel organic at all. Like, why would you just turn when you're about to go into this room to kill someone and get the camera? What would have been so much better is if it had showed him walking down that hall from a different angle, and his face was concealed by shadow, but you saw his eyes yellow. I think that would have been much more organic.
Like his head was down, and then he slowly raises his head up, and then you see the eye, and then he goes to slaughtering.
Yes. But. Or just have him have, the yellow eyes when it shows his face as he's lowering the doors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just like when he turns and looks at the camera, it's such a trailer shot that's just so unorganic, and I'm just like, ugh.
I'm evil now, guys. Look at my eye.
Yeah, so we go back to Coruscant because the Chancellor has called an emergency meeting of Congress because he's got some big news to make, and. He's sitting there in the middle with a packed house, and he's saying, basically, the Jedi have tried to kill me. So look at my face. I'm living proof. So now, because of that, we have to impose martial law for the time being. And we have to get rid of everything that we have strived for thousands of years to build. And we are going to become the first galactic empire. And Padme delivers, probably the best line, the best written line of this movie. So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. I remember seeing that on Facebook during the 2016 election, and someone saying, it doesn't matter who wins, this can apply to anyone. But, that's not the coolest thing that's going on. The coolest thing that happens is what's going on, just a couple blocks away at the Jedi Temple. We got the 9/11 imagery going on of that big plume of smoke coming out. And we have Yoda and Obi-Wan on, the front steps fighting a bunch of clones trying to get into the temple. And Yoda chucks his lightsaber and impales one in the chest, and he jumps on top of him and rips it out like the sword in the stone and continues fighting. That was so cool. That was so cool. And apparently that was something that George Lucas did not want in the movie, and I think one of the visual effects guys actually had to fight him on that to keep it in the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
How? It was so cool.
It was cool, and thank goodness that visual effects guy won.
Yeah. Fine, do your little stuff.
Yeah. I mean that was awesome, even though I said in our episode 2 review that I would have preferred Yoda staying the diminutive monk with the E.T. music lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp. I can still agree that was cool. Yeah. And another thing that they kept in the Lego Star Wars game that was a deleted concept from this movie was Obi-Wan and Yoda were going to get to the front of the temple, and the clones were going to be disguised as Jedi, and this was going to be a ruse to, kill any Jedi that would have survived Order 66 and came back to the temple because of the emergency beacon that they had set off.
Oh, wow.
And so, if you had ever played Lego Star Wars, or if you've read about, the making of this movie, or if you've ever seen a deleted scene, there would have been clones walking around in Jedi robes with like their backs turned, and then if Jedi approached them, they would have been killed.
Huh.
But this was cut out from the film.
Snakes.
Yeah, but this was cut out of the film, and it would have slowed the movie down, I think. But I think it would have probably made a bit more sense if we had had more of Obi-Wan and Yoda fighting through the temple, because it's kind of hard to believe that all of your security force is just outside waiting to kill Jedi, because you have to know that these Jedi are powerful, and if you put just a few clones outside, they can stand a chance if they're powerful enough, and then if they can get inside, then they have free reign of the temple, as we see with Yoda and Obi-Wan. They're just walking around, and they're seeing all the corpses of the dead Jedi, which is also a bummer, because at this point, only one Jedi, Qui-Gon, has figured out the secret to, live beyond life. So they're all dead.
They're all goners.
They're all dead. Only Qui-Gon is still alive at this point. So
sorry, Mace.
So yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. They're all dead. But yeah, I mean, that was a level in the Episode 3 video game. Would you have liked to have seen more of them fighting their way through the temple?
Yeah, I mean, it would, like you said, it would make more sense to show story progression on how they got in there so easy.
But I do feel it would have slowed the movie down a little bit. Like, it would have made it a bit longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, but it would have been badass, though.
Yes, it would have been.
Yeah.
It would have been, yes.
So, yes, I would have loved to see more of them two fighting together. But that's why we have the Clone Wars TV show.
And this is where Obi-Wan learns the terrible truth that Anakin has turned to the dark side. And apparently maybe he got some testosterone after killing those children, because in the security footage he's fighting some adult Jedi.
Yeah.
One of which was the fight choreographer Nick Gillard.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who's dressed up as a Jedi. His Jedi name is Sindralig, which is his name spelled backwards, and he was a boss in the Episode 3 video game.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So, a little bit of origin there. Some lore there that you're only going to get here on Echo Base Radio.
Only here, guys. You know the real stuff.
Yeah, so Anakin was fighting him in the security thing, and then I guess Palpatine came to the temple to congratulate him on his job well done of destroying everyone.
Oh, good job killing those kids. Nice form.
Now go and kill these unarmed aliens and 2 battle droids.
Why? Just do it.
Yes. It was... And there was another point when Yoda's walking away after he and Obi-Wan are oh, you have to kill Anakin, I'm gonna go and fight the Emperor. Yoda's movements seem very puppet-like. And I don't know if that was intentional by the artists, or if that's just a product of the CG of its time. I don't know if you noticed that, but it looked puppet-like to me, like his mouth movements and the way he walked. It looked very puppet-like to me.
They could have been trying to, imitate the original movements of the puppet. They could have definitely been paying homage to that. Kind of show, his progression towards what he becomes.
Okay. I like that analysis.
I mean, he is getting older.
Yeah. I mean, he's close to the 900 years,
Yeah.
because he's, he's still got a few years before he goes senile.
Yeah. Yoda fighting a droid
with his stick. Where does he get another one? Because, he left it behind in the office when he was fighting Palpatine.
He also left his robe behind, too.
I know, but he had it again when he was on the ship.
Yeah. Maybe he has a...
Did he have some yarn?
Robes.
Did he have some yarn? Or maybe he had Bale drive him back to the temple and he has, his own little closet full of them, and he grabbed one. I don't know.
Standard Jedi Master uniform?
I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, so... Then that was when, and that's when Obi-Wan also finds out that Anakin's a baby daddy, because he goes to Padme and he's like, where did he go? Because I gotta find him, because he's bad now. and Padme's like, you're gonna kill him, aren't you? And he's like,
maybe.
He's become a grave threat. He's become a grave threat.
I will do what I must.
Say you're going to kill him without saying that you're going to kill him. So yeah. And then Padme's like, I need to go and tell Anakin that Obi-Wan's coming after him.
Obi-Wan's smart. He knows this.
Yes. And it's funny because her security guy from the last movie is like, let me go with you, and she's like, no, the fighting's over. Okay, you know this how? Because the Chancellor just said so a few minutes ago? Okay, cool.
Sure.
Yeah. And I also like that before that we saw those scenes of Anakin looking out over Mustafar, and how he has a tear-stained face, like he's upset. That he's in anguish over what he's had to do.
It's like, well, everything happens so fast, and I think he just kind of had a moment to himself to where everything that he has done and everything that he is probably going to have to do kind of sets in, and he's kind of like showing that little tear of regret. Like,
yeah.
What did I get myself into? Like, what is happening?
He even has, a look of distress on his face. If you look very closely when he's slaughtering the Separatist leaders, there's a scene where, where he does, a slice with his lightsaber as he's cutting someone down, and there's this look of anguish on his face right before it cuts to Palpatine. Yeah, so it's just like he's upset at what he's doing. Yeah, because I don't think he's fully wanting to do what he has to do, but he's still like, I have to do this to save Padme. This is the only way.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, he is still just a kid. Like, a kid that had a shiny gold ball dangled in front of his face. Yeah. And was, oh, hey, you want this? Here, you can have it. Mm-hmm. But you're going to have to sacrifice X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And I think that he really didn't go into this with fully thinking this through. So, oh, hey, I can do this and I can save Padme. Not realizing the journey he's going to have to take to get to something that's never going to happen.
All he had to do was take a seat.
Mm-hmm. Take a seat, young Skywalker.
He did, but, not with the right posture.
Yeah.
There is a video.
Such disrespect.
There is a video out there called "What If Anakin Didn't Take a Seat?" And then there's also a channel that's entirely Star Wars videos, but it's all with Home Alone characters. Have you ever seen those? No. One of them is that scene of the Jedi Council, but it's that scene of Home Alone 2 where Buzz is trying to apologize for pranking Kevin at the Christmas concert, yeah. And he's in front of the Jedi Council, and he's like, and he's like, my prank was immature and ill-timed, and it cuts to Yoda, and he goes, immature or not, it was pretty hilarious, was it?
And I'm gonna have to watch that.
And then it shows Kevin sitting in a seat on the Jedi Council, and he turns and he goes, I would also like to apologize to my brother. Kevin, I'm sorry. And then like I think Mace Windu is like, is there something you would like to say, Kevin, or something? And then he gets up and does the whole, I'm not sorry. I did what I did because Buzz humiliated me. Yeah. You'll have to look this up. Yeah.
Gold.
Yeah. You'll have to look it up.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. Okay, we got to get through these. Let's see. Another thing that I like of how Anakin is just still trying to be, still trying to come off as, like, the nice guy, is that when he sees Padme arrive and when he comes out, he immediately removes his hood.
Like, you can see that switch happen.
Yeah.
Like, from Darth, like, it's like that part of Anakin came out for just a moment.
Yeah. And
like you said, he pulled his hood down, his whole demeanor got brighter.
He rushed out to her. Yeah. And then like, Padme saying like, Obi-Wan's told me all these terrible things, and Anakin's just like, I don't want to hear any more about this. I am powerful now. We don't have to worry about all this crap anymore. And then she's just like, what Obi-Wan told me is true. I can't do this anymore with you. And then,
but you know what's interesting? He didn't try to lie.
Yeah.
He definitely danced around the question, but first watching the movie, you would think like he would always go, oh no, Obi-Wan's a liar. All that stuff never happened. But no, he never lied, and I think that speaks a little bit about his character.
Yeah, I mean, he becomes a spouse abuser. He's like, I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan. And I love that shot of when he looks up and Obi-Wan's just standing there at the ramp, and Obi-Wan's just like, oh, you son of a... Oh, and then we get into the best lightsaber duel of the entire saga. Hands down.
Okay, and now I want to say one thing about the score for this fight.
Okay.
All right, we've had some epic lightsaber scores throughout the saga.
Okay.
But I think this one, the score that he had for this battle, takes the cake over all of them.
Over Duel of the Fates?
It's interesting because aside from last night, Duel of the Fates was my number one. Like that was cream of the crop.
Okay.
But as I was doing my rewatch, I started thinking about it, and with the music lines up perfectly with the beats for like the lightsaber fights, and with the sound effects, that's what happens. And the music for this score is very, very fast paced, and it matches perfectly with the whole tone of that battle. Like, that battle is very intense. It's one of the most intense, like I was saying earlier, like one of the most intense lightsaber battles in the saga. And that music just matches it perfectly, and perfectly sets the tone and the mood for what's at stake in this fight. And to me, that pushes it over the edge.
Okay.
Not by much. Not by much.
Okay.
But it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference in style and tone. Duel of the Fates feels more grand, and like something that's just much more operatic if you're looking at good versus evil, while this one feels more dour and bleak. And it doesn't feel, heroic at all. Even if it is paired up with something that's very intense. Yeah. Faster or more intense, as George likes to say.
Faster, more intense, yes.
And there's some incredible shots in this. Like I love the scene where they're fighting down the hallway and they're hitting those panels and the sparks are falling down. I love that part where they're swinging their sabers and they're not hitting each other. And
like this, like not only are they fighting with lightsabers, like they're getting physical. Like at one point, Anakin bends Obi-Wan over, choking him,
and they lose their lightsabers and they're punching and kicking each other. Yeah.
And I think my favorite part of that entire battle is when they're in the little meeting room.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan out of nowhere just lands a drop kick on Anakin. Drop kicks out of nowhere. I'm like, hell yeah. No, Obi-Wan could do drop kicks, but there we go.
Yeah, well.
It plants Anakin right on that table.
And I love after they push each other, after they force push each other.
Oh,
If you look at Anakin's face, you can tell that it's his stunt double.
Yeah.
And then they break the control panel, and that deactivates the force fields.
Force fields and lightsaber battles.
Yeah, I mean, it never...
Become a thing of the prequels, I guess.
Yeah, but they go to dangerous areas that they should not be going to. Like they're balancing on that pole.
That one little scaffolding that's like suspended over the huge lake of lava.
I love it when that little bucket droid flies up and he sees what's going on, and then he just like goes down underneath them. He's like, I still got work to do.
These Jedi's haven't learned how to fly like Princess Leia could.
Oh!
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Is he cool?
Is he cool? He's the coolest.
Is he cool? And then there was that iconic shot of both of them grappling when the lava's erupting.
Oh yeah,
that was cool.
I like their little Tarzan fight that they had when they're both swinging on the ropes.
I'll tell you what I did like. I liked it when all of those rocks started hailing down and they had that liquid sound effect. That was cool.
Yeah.
And I mean when they went over a lava waterfall.
And another thing I really liked about this fight is like not only is the fight itself intense, but like pay attention to what's going on in the background. Mm-hmm. Like there are lots of moving parts, things working, robots going everywhere. Like it's very interesting just to kind of take a peek at what's going on around them. Like,
there's miners who were confused as to what's going on.
There are droids trying to swerve around them because they're trying to get out of the way of them.
Anakin surfs on one for a while.
Yeah, poor little droid just trying to do his job, and
he drops his bucket in the lava. He's not going to get paid now. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. You're welcome.
Drats.
And then Obi-Wan gets the high ground.
Oh, the classic high ground.
He got the high ground, and Anakin...
He told him don't try it.
He tried.
He tried to tell him.
And he failed epically. He failed epically.
You underestimate my power. No, it's physics.
He failed epically. And...
He failed epically.
He did fail. You could have said he fell so low.
Oh!
Don't cry, Obi. He was only gone. Oh, no. It was, don't cry, Obi. He was only gone. That was that ER joke.
Yeah.
Anakin gets burned. Badly.
Badly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shot me!
Char grilled.
Yes.
Extra crispy.
Not like the burgers at Burger King, though.
No. Oh, I mean, unless you're a cannibal, I guess it's a cannibal burger.
Well, I mean, like, Star Wars did get promoted at Burger King for a while during this movie. There were those stupid commercials of, like, the stormtrooper shooting the grill because it wasn't working. And then there was that other one of those kids who couldn't get the ketchup packets opened. So there was a Jedi who probably was Obi-Wan who was like, I can get it for you. And he force lifts it and cuts it open with his lightsaber. And they're like, thanks, mister. And he goes, may the fries be with you.
Sold out, Obi.
No, George sold out. He sold out back in the 70s.
It's all about the dollar. This movie's not going to go
Just
anywhere.
sell the toys. Just sell the toys.
Think of the
which I bought many.
Children. Think of the children.
Of which I bought many.
Which I still buy many.
He does.
I do.
He does.
He's not lying.
You saw it during our Attack of the Clones episode. He has the C-3PO battle droid. But Before we get back to Anakin lying crisp on the lava bed, we do have another thing to cover. But, you know, when Obi-Wan walked off, he does grab Anakin's lightsaber, because you gotta set that up.
Yep.
And I also heard that George had apparently forgot about that, and someone had to tell him, and it was a reshot that they had to do of just him picking up the lightsaber. He was like, George, you realize he forgot the lightsaber, right?
Oh, regret.
Yeah. Yeah.
And George, we kind of need that.
Thank goodness George has, like, you know, continuity people on his team to tell him
With
these
stuff
things.
like this, you have to.
Yeah. But there was something else going on while this was happening. A much more, like I wrote down here, Anakin and Obi-Wan was much more serious and full of visual shorthand. And it had great visual moments. Our next battle that was happening simultaneously was visual shorthand and much more campy.
Yeah.
Yoda versus Sidious. This one was, perfect for just bringing back Duel of the Fates for just a little bit, because this is like, the classic good versus evil of like, these are the two top dogs of their faction literally duking it out in the Senate, and Palpatine is bringing it down metaphorically. He is bringing
the rain with the chairs.
Literally tearing down the Republic by throwing those pods at Yoda and saying things like "my little green friend," and Yoda just casually flipping the wrist and knocking back the Imperial guards after we think they're finally going to do something cool. This thing was just so campy and just ridiculous. Palpatine is a CGI creation because Ian McDermott's old and he can't move. Just like how Christopher Lee couldn't do that flip off of the balcony.
That was painfully obvious.
So yeah, this whole thing was campy, and it's just so ridiculous, but it still looks good. Yeah. It's still a lot of fun, but it's much shorter than the Obi-Wan and Anakin thing. Like, this thing is much shorter.
Did you ever think we would actually see Yoda and Emperor Palpatine face off with each other?
I never thought about it.
Like, seeing that for the first time was incredible.
Yeah, the most powerful Jedi we've ever seen and the most powerful Sith we've ever seen finally duking it out together. That was incredible.
I always love seeing Yoda just bounce off random things, and everybody's just trying to find him, trying to keep up. And
I love how, every time he lands, he reignites his saber.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Makes sense. I mean, you don't want to start flipping around and accidentally cut a limb off.
And Palpatine's just up there going, Yeah.
Well, I guess he's such a small target, you got to hit him with everything.
Yeah, but, I mean, so Yoda falls, and he immediately is like, well, I guess I got to go into hiding. Why couldn't he just jump back in and try to fight him again? Palpatine's literally just hanging off, going,
Yeah. I mean, he dropped his lightsaber, but he don't need that. He's freaking Yoda.
Yeah. Palpatine lost his or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Gosh, just get back in there and finish him off. You didn't fail. You didn't fail. You just fell. There's a difference. But no, you got to go to the swamp now, I guess, and
Yoda fell down that hole. He's like, I'm old and tired. I'm going home.
And make your root stew. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Root stew. Hot. But yeah, it's fun, but it's not as cool as what was happening on Mustafar.
Yeah, and that was probably why it was such a short sequence in comparison, because of the Mustafar battle was the main focus.
Mustafar needed to happen, but at the same time, Yoda needed something to do. Mm-hmm. So George is probably like, he can fight the Emperor. I don't know. He can fight the Emperor. I don't know.
Something I just thought about. Those two battles kind of represent two, like, so Obi-Wan and Anakin kind of represent like the internal struggle.
Yes.
And then you have Yoda and Palpatine, two completely different dogmas trying to fight it out over superiority for the pretty much battle of the universe. And
genius! You need to write an article now.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that's really great symbolism, like your internal struggle.
I'm gonna steal that for my written review.
So just give me credit, and I want royalties for anything you say.
So Sidious then goes to Mustafar because he sensed that Lord Vader is in danger. And
what's that smell? The burning flesh.
Can you smell that smell?
Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie?
I do like the little visual of him going down to the bank and him touching his face. Yeah. That's a nice little shot. Mm-hmm. And then he takes him back to Coruscant, and he throws him down on a medical table, and there's a bunch of droids there, and they're putting some cybernetics on him.
They weren't even trying to be gentle. They didn't even try to sedate him. Nothing. They were just like, here's your burned corpse. Let's immediately perform surgery.
And he looks bad underneath that fluorescent light. He looks bad.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, on Polis Massa, which is that asteroid belt, Yoda's in some deep meditation. I think he's talking to someone.
Maybe, yeah.
I think Liam Neeson did.
Friend.
Yeah, well, I think what that was supposed to be was Liam Neeson did have to record some lines, but he was too busy doing Batman Begins, so he couldn't do it. That's what it was.
Too busy. Well, if you're getting punched in the face by Batman, let's not for anything else.
But
we get to see him in the Kenobi show. That's another video in itself.
Yeah. You mean the Reva show starring Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah, the Reva show. Sorry, she probably gets more screen time than Kenobi.
So while Vader is being born, so are his children.
That was a great parallel.
Yeah, the light side rising as well as the dark side rising. As Snoke would say 20 years later, darkness rises and light to meet it.
Old Snokey Doke.
So that is good. My one thing about it that I don't like is that Padme really seemed to have those names ready to go.
Yeah, she put a lot of thought into this. I wonder if she ran that by Anakin.
I do like the voice of the nurse droid who's delivering the babies. Isita Oeda. I love that. And
I was like, breathe.
Breathe, baby. Come on. You can do it. Yeah. There was also another thing that I've wondered if you ever heard about during this scene. Have you ever heard of the theory that Sidious was siphoning Padme's life force to keep Anakin alive?
No.
There is a theory that Padme had her life force drained from her by Palpatine to keep Anakin alive, because the medical droid said, she's completely healthy, but for reasons we can't explain, we are losing her. She has lost the will to live. And then when Anakin awakens, Sidious says, in your anger, you killed her. And Anakin was like, she was alive. I felt it.
That makes a lot of sense. Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. Mm-hmm. That's my new headcanon.
Okay, yeah, because Sidious could have been just subtly implying, when you choked her in your anger, that was when you killed her.
I mean,
she may not have been dead, but you metaphorically did, and it just took its toll, buddy. Sorry.
Well,
you know that that Plagueis thing I told you about? Yeah. Turns out I don't know.
And I always thought, kind of like him telling Anakin that he killed Padme, was just kind of adding fuel to the fire. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, like this will really like set him off and kind of seal him as mine. Mm-hmm. Like if I make him think that he did this, he's gonna hate himself forever, and he will be demoralized beyond belief, and he'll be easier to control.
Well, that smile that he gets when he does his Frankenstein walk off the medical table seals that.
Yep.
But the most famous part of that scene, James Earl Jones, even with his velvet cords, cannot make that line work. No one can make it work. What? I don't know what George was thinking, but that line just does not work. His operatic pose of despair going, do it with me. No! And in the Mandarin dub, it's do not want.
Do not want. Like, okay, George, it didn't work the first time you did it.
You don't put it in Return of the Jedi.
No. Why'd you do it again?
Because I don't know. It just doesn't work. And I've even thought of how you could have made this scene better.
Oh, I know exactly how you can make that better.
I want to hear your thought, and then I'll tell you mine.
Once he finds out that Padme's dead, don't have him say a word. Just have everything around him just start exploding, like he is crushing everything around him in his mind with his anger.
Like he's already doing.
Yeah. But don't have him say a word. I think that would have been so much more powerful if he just remained silent and you saw everything around him being crushed, just like his heart was when he found out the news. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just don't make him say anything.
Okay.
Just have everything explode, and then him break free from the table, and then just have Palpatine there, smiling, and the deed is done. Mm-hmm. It's complete, and then just have him walk off, or just end the scene right there.
Okay.
What's your thoughts?
My thoughts is he does break things with his mind like he already does. However, when he steps off the table and he takes those steps forward, since he's not used to it, he falls and he makes like maybe some sort of like guttural roar, and it breaks his breathing apparatus, and he starts having the labored breathing like he does in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, that's sick. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just have him go silent like that. That would be so much more powerful.
Yeah. He gets so crushed, and maybe and maybe Palpatine can still just smile, maybe not show teeth, but smile, knowing that I still have him. Okay, but then he just walks away because he's just like you had so much potential, but now look at you, you're broken. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to call us to write some of these movies, we'd be more than happy to.
And so the Tantive 4 flies back to Naboo because we gotta bury Padme. And before we talk about what they do with our last little bit of trio, let's just touch on the funeral really quickly, because I only have a few things to say about that. I love how they had like, you know, people from Padme's past in the funeral procession. Like I'm glad that you put effort to put Boss Nass in the funeral procession, and also the new queen and her aide who was like pleading for her help from episode 1, the old man. And I also loved how it showed the Japor snippet one last time when she was being buried. That was good. There was also a comic that showed Vader visiting Padme's burial, and he like ripped off the lid of the stone casket to look at her body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a thing that happened.
There's a little much there, buddy. I don't know what you're going to accomplish by that, but you know.
Well,
with all he's going through, I'm sure he's a little freak inside.
Well, I mean, it will bring you good fortune.
Yeah. Oh, he needs all the good fortune he can get.
Yeah, apparently so. But yeah. So Bail, Obi-Wan, and Yoda get together and decide that the children need to be separated because it's they'll be kept safe. The Sith won't sense their presence. And I get the feeling that Yoda's only doing this because he has so much pride built up. He has to have one more Jedi Council meeting before he goes into exile. Before he goes into self-imposed exile, Obi-Wan goes into hiding, and Bail gets to live in opulence.
Yeah.
Looking over his shoulder for the rest of his life because he's a double agent. So Bail decides he's going to take Leia. Obi-Wan says he will take Luke to Tatooine to be raised by Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, and he will watch over him because Yoda's just like, babysit, I will not.
You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm 900 years old. I get this.
There was also the deleted scene that showed him landing on Dagobah. Did you ever see that scene? Mm-hmm. Do you think it should have been kept in? Rick McCallum certainly thinks so.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it necessarily needed to be there. I mean, we know where he goes.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool to see, but
I mean, it's okay because, like, you know,
I don't think it adds anything important to the story.
Yeah, because I mean, we get to see where Bail and Obi-Wan go, but you know, but Yoda, it's just
wait, where's Yoda going? I wonder.
Well, kids, there's a VHS we have back home called The Empire. No, Spider-Man. Well, kids, there's this really old movie called The Empire Strikes Back.
Let's see what happens before Yoda goes.
Yoga goes there.
Yoda goes to Dagobah. He
was that an optional class at the Jedi Temple? Yoda yoga.
Yeah, he did that on the side. You know, that was
yoga with Yoda.
Extracurricular. You know. But no, the reason why he goes and lives in the swamp is because he hit up all the casinos.
Oh yeah,
and lost all those precious Republican credits.
Republican credits.
Oh, no more money I have. Mm-hmm. To the swamp I must go.
And he tells Obi-Wan, "Hey, your Jedi training's not over just because the order is done."
Anyway, you got homework, buddy.
It's your old master. Daddy's home.
Daddy's home.
And he has some weeds that he wants to say with you. Now, we get to see young Captain Antilles, and Bail Organa says, these two droids, take care of them. Like, you know, the neurotic gold one, wipe his memory, but don't wipe out the memory of the beer can there. Yeah. Why? Why just him? Why just him? I don't understand that choice.
It's maybe because 3PO can actually talk. And
well, so can R2. He can. All he needs is a translator.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe so 3PO will be less annoying.
I know, but someone made the point that like, you know, at some point wouldn't R2D2 would have been like would have been to Luke like, dude, you know you're kissing your sister, right?
It's your sister, man. Have you seen Euro Trip?
I've not seen Euro Trip, but I've seen Fanboys.
Yeah. That's a great movie.
Yes. Who cares about this crap, man? Who cares? And by this show, we do.
We do.
We care. All right, really quickly before we end up, those Republican bombers that are at the end of the movie, they start to sound like the TIE fighters, and it's great. We get to see the Death Star being built with young Tarkin.
It all comes full circle.
He looks better than the Polar Express version in Rogue One. I don't know who that guy is, but he looked good.
Yeah. They could have just used that guy for Rogue One.
Yeah.
But no, they had to go dig up a CGI corpse. So.
Well, it makes sense because, it's just like an hour later that episode 4 happens.
Yeah.
But I just love that scene of Vader just...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is what it's all about.
I guess this is the life.
Yep. And little does he know that a few years later, his apprentice is going to be breaking up all those glass panels to kill, to try to get the rebel leaders in there. Even though it's not canon, but who cares? Because Sam Witwer's awesome,
right?
And the last thing that's cool is that as the Empire is rising, so is the New Hope rising, and I just love how they close it out with. They show us baby Leia, they play her theme.
Yep.
Then they show us baby Luke, the New Hope, fast asleep, and they play the binary sunset while his uncle is in the same pose on that little mound. And it's just like, what better way to complete the circle and bring it to a close?
Right, I got chills.
So,
it was a beautiful ending to
that is. That is, and you know what? In 2005, I was expecting this to be the end. I was ready. I was happy. I was just like, yes, the circle is now complete. We can move on. And Star Wars was primed and ready to continue living on through multimedia projects, through the expanded universe that had already started years earlier. I mean, books, comics, video games.
It's crazy to see how much spawned from this one little movie.
Yeah, and Star Wars
wasn't even supposed to be big. It wasn't even supposed to be nothing.
Star Wars would have stayed relevant for decades without more movies, I think. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't have stayed at the top, but it would have still been relevant. You still would have been able to release movies on big anniversaries, and people still would have flocked to them.
It would have still been one of those things to where you say Star Wars, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Everyone knew what you were talking about.
No matter if they've seen the movies or not.
But yeah, this was the big culmination of... everything. And this was honestly... one of the best movies in a year of good movies. I don't know if we talked about this at the beginning, but 2005 also had some good movies. I would say that my next favorite after Star Wars Episode 1 was Episode 3 was the first Narnia movie that came out that year, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
That is right.
Yeah. What about you? What was another one of your favorites from that year? I mean...
I don't even remember what came out in 2005.
We had Jackson's King Kong. We had Goblet of Fire. We had Batman Begins.
Okay.
Batman Begins for you?
Okay, let's talk about Batman Begins.
Okay.
Batman Begins revolutionized the character.
Okay.
Like, that brought that character to... After the whole... Joel Schumacher.
Burton first that Schumacher ruined.
Yeah, it was Burton for the first two, and then
Schumacher for the next two. Yeah.
And then he just turned Batman into this campy character that was pretty much just a joke. But then
he practically killed him after Batman and Robin.
Yeah. The only thing that was really big after that was the animated series.
Oh, love the animated.
Which was beautiful, by the way. But Nolan just took it in a direction that was perfect for Batman. My only little grimace for that is he stuck a little too much to the realism with Batman. Yeah, it's good, but with Batman's universe and the characters that are in the Batman universe, you can't completely base it in the real world because there's so much supernatural, mystical stuff to that. And some of the things that he tried to bring into the real world, I don't think really worked. Dark Knight Rises. But the Nolan Batman movies, especially Batman Begins, was amazing. Beautiful movies.
Yeah, and without Nolan's vision, we probably never would have gotten any of the Arkham games.
Oh no. Oh no, the Arkham games are heavily influenced by Nolan's style.
Yeah, it's like,
and I think
it's like,
it's pretty much
Nolan's viscerality with Tim Burton's look and the comic lore.
And I'll even go as far as to say that even today, Nolan's vision of Batman is still referenced in all the other iterations that have come forward after that.
I'd say the best one that has come out since Nolan's adaptation has been
Pattinson.
Yes.
Oh,
the
he's
Batman.
so good.
The
Batman is so good.
That was a great movie.
I can't wait. Hurry up with the sequel. Give it to me.
Give it to me now.
Give it to me now.
Do it.
Come on. What are you waiting for?
Do it, Matt Reeves. But yeah. This was the calm before the storm, because 10 years later is where we pick up next time. You know.
I know.
It'll be like ripping off a Band-Aid, but we gotta do it.
Yeah. We do it for you.
We do it for you, our loyal audience. Dang it.
CliffNotes.com.
And don't worry, I already have the prop ready that we're going to use.
Oh, yeah.
You see it over there?
I do.
You'll see it next episode, but for now, the circle truly is complete. Next week we get
It's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah,
It'll be one of our funnier, more hilarious episodes.
Yeah, but for us, the circle is now complete, and this is the true end of the Skywalker story for us.
Yes.
But until next time, Godspeed. May the Force be with you.
Jubanoia!